People who think that confidence or staring is a substitute for substance need to get cold on their bullshit. This is How the World Works, who, evidently, just like a Fox News anchor, seems to think that an opinion, held strongly enough, counts as fact. What you can expect from How the World Works is summarized in his glitzy opening titles. Yep, that's right. How the World Works has got the Earth spinning backwards. How very apt. I'm sorry, but this guy's cut from the same sow disinformation cloth as your typical creationist, and you have to look no further than his channel motto to realize this. Hear the news and learn what the experts are not telling you. Yep, that's right, expert in a pejorative sense. I mean, why bother with those experts simply because of their pervasive knowledge and years of education? This is simply an appeal to paranoia. But it's worse than that. It's also evident by extension that How the World Works thinks that because he is not an expert due to his lack of expertise, that he can tell you things that the experts cannot. Yeah, you can almost smell the conspiracy theories being born.
Not one civilization in the history of the world with de jure private property rights and rule of law has ever experienced a famine. Famine is defined as running out of the food supply. Never happened. Not in the Great Depression. In fact, we had abundance of food. FDR decided for whatever strange...
How the World Works makes a lot of bold, categorically wrong statements like this. I mean, let's make this simple. Scroll the clock back to the time before the joys of modern agriculture, when famines were more common. If the crops fail for a couple of years, you're shit out of luck. It doesn't matter if you're George Washington, Karl Marx, or King Canute. If there is no food, the people starve. And it's for reasons like this that scientists take climate change seriously.
Answer, you work for the United Nations and you're a leftist. And if you want to hear the word from another leftist and viral Marxist, just listen to James Hansen from NASA. He's back at it again, even though his old boss said he should have been fired. James Hansen claims that the democratic process is not working to fight global warming. Hey James, the reason why the democratic process is not working to fight global warming is because the majority of people are realizing that you and Al Gore are charlatans.
Yeah, I told you the conspiracy theories weren't far away. Yes, this is the sort of argument you get when you jettison the advice and counsel of the best educated and knowledgeable experts on the planet and accept the ramblings of someone who claims to have no expertise on the subject.
Environmentalists are largely not helping the planet. What they're doing is creating more poverty. Most of what they do does not create cleaner air. It doesn't create cleaner water. The one thing that has been proven to create cleaner environments throughout history is wealth. Wealthy people have largely been able to clean up their messes that they create.
What a crock of shit. I mean, we're back to this juvenile socialism, bad capitalism, good understanding of the world. For the record, the reason we have government regulations, international treaties on many industries is because there is no effective mechanism in the free market to apply such pressure. For example, you may remember the hole in the ozone layer and the banning of CFCs resulting in its recovery, or the international treaties on sulfur emissions and to reduce acid rain and deforestation. And yeah, you don't have to be a wizard to foresee what his typical response will be. It'll be a sort of Piltdown Man type response, you know, some populist scientist got some stuff wrong before, therefore it's okay to ignore millions of man-hours of research by the best educated people. Sorry, experts on the subject, on the planet. Like it or not, the reason for society is not to earn the most profit. It's to serve the people. It's not just nice to have a government or organisation to ensure that the market does not have total freedom when the needs of the people conflict with what is most profitable. It's a requirement, a socialist requirement from a social species for their communal benefit. That's our arguably maintained government, law enforcement, currency maintenance, education, infrastructure such as roads and rail, hospitals, healthcare and national defence. Anyway, I digress. Things that Muppet Boy is categorically wrong on.
When whale oil started to be depleted and everyone said, oh my god, we're going to run out of whale oil, only the wealthy could afford it because the prices were so high. Eventually someone said we got to find an alternative use of energy, and they started using kerosene. Then kerosene got too expensive, and we moved to crude. Then after crude got too expensive, we moved to gasoline.
When I heard Laughing Boy listing off this progression from whale oil to kerosene to crude oil to gasoline, there was just a blank stare. I mean, what the hell is he talking about? He's comparing different things. You cannot run a country on whale oil. Indeed, whale oil was only mostly used for lamps and lubrication in the 1800s. The energy economy of the time, of course, being mostly horses, water, wood and coal. Crude oil has essentially never been used as a fuel source. There's just too much non-violent and intractable nasty shit in it. It's almost always distilled to some level before use. This is the sort of reasoning you get from people who claim insight without expertise. They end up comparing oil used for lamps and lubrication to a general fuel oil, to a raw resource from which there are almost no direct applications, to a refined petroleum product that constitutes the energy backbone of most industrialized countries.
And all your statements about social democracies in Europe, they are essentially bankrupt. The only reason why those European countries have been able to survive is because of capitalism and free markets.
Yeah, and the only reason the United States has been able to survive is because of socialist concepts such as a standing army to defend the society. Again, I'm sorry, but it's this binary logic of this small-minded muppet showing destructive disinformation that I find so antisocial and counterproductive. I mean, it's tautological that all societies have socialistic rules for what the society perceives to be its communal benefits. In many cases, these conflict with the market's desire to make profit. For instance, I'm sure you could make a very good business out of the slave trade.
There's nothing good or moral or kind about abolishing private property. Life is one's most important value. There's nothing good or moral or kind about abolishing private property. Life is one's most important value.
The free market only cares about what makes money. All other concerns are secondary. Society has more sophisticated goals. It is the understanding of this balance that seems to be absent, presumed missing, in the callous psyche of the misnomer of How the World Works and his binary understanding of free market good, socialism bad.
And all your statements about social democracies in Europe, they are essentially bankrupt. The only reason why those European countries have been able to survive is because of capitalism and free markets. The United Kingdom doesn't even have enough food in its own country to feed its people. It needs to import its food.
What the? So Captain Stares-a-Lot seems to think that the inability of an overpopulated island to feed itself without imports is due to some sort of progressive socialism and not, say, for instance, I don't know, the lack of arable land? A little historical perspective. One of the main reasons Great Britain used to have a large navy was for this very reason. It was fully realized, even in the days before ironclads, that a naval blockade of Great Britain could force its capitulation through starvation without a single shot ever being fired. This was the simple reason why Great Britain was so anxious for so long about keeping naval superiority. But I mean, really, if Mr. I Like Staring thinks the inability of a capitalistic society such as Great Britain to feed itself without imports constitutes a criticism of Marxism, then what? Does Manhattan's inability to feed itself without imports, that's the heart of capitalism? Wouldn't that, by the same logic, be a criticism of capitalism? Actually, no. By this guy's reasoning, that would actually be a criticism of communism. And with that, I will leave How the World Works to give the concluding remarks to himself.
You don't have the slightest clue what you're talking about. So overall, your own personal incredulity was substituted for an actual argument. You didn't make an argument, you just looked like an idiot. Look, you're an intellectual lightweight who started your channel earlier than everyone else, so you have a bunch of mindless drones following you. And admit it, you never expected this type of response from somebody. So, rate this video even if you hate it, put it in your favorites if you enjoy it. Don't forget to subscribe, and I got 2 links over in the side.